Hey guys, Tank with Fox Airsoft here, and today's video is going to be about upgraded versus stock airsoft guns. Before I start, do want to mention we do have tech services available for our walk-in local customers as well as out-of-state customers. If you're in the US, you can actually send your gun to us to have us repair or upgrade it if you know what you want to do and you have a gun that needs some work. Contact us through our email, sales@foxairsoft.com, to get a quotation and rough idea of what to do, or visit our website and check out our upgrade and repair section. All right, so let's talk about airsoft guns. When you're out shopping for the first time, it's kind of a new process for you. You don't know what's out there, what's considered a low tier gun, beginner grade, Proline, whatever the differences are. Today we're gonna explain all that. So for today's exercise, I'm gonna rig up a graph for you guys that I'll display in the corner, and that'll kind of rank the performance in general terms. This test is gonna be not in specific to any brands, but generalized information, so that way you don't get too wrapped up about a particular brand or model. What you should be looking for are the features and qualities that match up to your needs. So the scale is going to work like this. It's going to go from 1 to 3, and 1 being low performance, aka stuff you should not take to an airsoft field or stuff that's not competitive. 2 is pretty good performance out of the box, and 3 is optimal performance. Now these ratings of mine are going to be subjective. 3 being optimal performance is in relation to field performance. So, you know, max FPS, max this and that. Nothing that's going beyond the scope of what's meant for a field. So if I'm talking about what's the best rounds per second, for example, let's say it's about 20 to 25. That would already be a 3 in my book. Anything beyond that, still a 3. Because after that, it's really subjective and beyond the reasonable performance that you need for an airsoft field. So rather than go down that rabbit hole, I'm gonna simplify it for everyone's sake. Okay, so when we're talking about level 1 performance in the categories of feet per second, rate of fire, trigger response, build quality, durability, that sort of thing, think about the types of airsoft guns that you see at a big box store that they sell all kinds of stuff, not just airsoft, basically a non-airsoft specialist retailer. So if you can buy your milk and eggs there and an airsoft gun, it's probably not field level performance out of the box. It's probably something that you want to use in your backyard for fun. All right, so now moving on to Sportline level guns. Basically, these are the guns that are sub $200. They may or may not come with a battery and charger. Typically, you'll run a 9.6 volt battery with them because that's what a lot of people start with. You could potentially also run an 11.1 or a 7.4 volt LiPo. That'll change performance a little bit. Here's a typical Sportline gun running a 9.6 battery and a fuse, no MOSFET. So rate of fire is pretty decent. And as far as skipping to trigger response, gets the job done, and it will perform fine on an airsoft field. Build quality will vary. Some of the bodies out there are pretty so-so, and some are very nice. This one's actually one of the nicer ones. Everything as far as the parts fitment and the overall build quality, you can feel the quality in your hands, even if it is a polymer gun. Durability-wise, this can vary depending from manufacturer to manufacturer. Most of these Sportline guns, I would put them at a 2. Reason being is at the price point you're buying, it's not going to be something that lasts forever. They're thinking maybe you'll upgrade in the future. So a lot of guns that in the past that are Sportline category that are overbuilt tend to cost in a weird spot between a Sportline and a Proline, and people just didn't go for it. So you'll just find not very much middle ground there. The accuracy on these Sportlines will be pretty decent to good. A lot of these Sportlines now are starting to come with tight bore barrels out of the factories, so you'll get better accuracy out there as long as you're using good quality BBs to go with it. Okay, moving on to a Sportline gun with a MOSFET, just to show you a difference of what a MOSFET does. Since it creates less resistance and delivers power straight to the motor, your rate of fire and your response get a little bit better there. This is me just running merely a 9.6 battery on this Sportline gun that has a MOSFET. seems a little bit better. This manufacturer opted to include a Dean's connector by default, so you can run a 11.1 no problems. Really woke the gun up in both trigger response and the rate of fire there. Now our Proline level guns, it's going to be better in almost every category conceivably. There are some small differences from brand to brand how they'll do things. So any of these numbers can be around a number 2 or 3. Most of them will be in the 3 category. And that's how I stack up Proline guns. All right, now compared to a Proline gun, this is going to be running a MOSFET already. So as far as the FPS goes, the FPS on a lot of the Proline guns are pretty much optimal and efficient. So that performance is pretty topped out as far as field performance goes. The nice thing with being more efficient there is the internals aren't working as hard, so that kind of increases the durability in my opinion. Rate of fire is usually pretty good because they'll team it up with a decent motor. There's room for improvement on the motors they include though, so you can always upgrade that, but as far as usable rate of fire, I would say it's pretty much at the top of the category there. Build quality, nothing more to be said there, it's pretty solid. The parts are always nicely finished. The specs and tolerances are always very good. Okay, here's rate of fire with this one. So this being a MOSFET gun, a lot of Proline guns will come with MOSFETs these days. Responds pretty well. Gonna be just at the breaking point, so you know. So that's full auto there. Accuracy with these guns, typically they'll come with a tight bore already, and the hop-up designs are typically very nice, so they'll hold their settings better and be more consistent in the accuracy department. Now when you throw in custom work into the equation, that's where things get really wild, and you can do a lot of things based on what your needs are. For example, if you want the FPS to be higher or it needs to be maxed out, of course you're going to hit that 3 mark on my scale. If you need rate of fire, easily manipulated, you can change out the motor, you can change the gear ratio and so on. Build quality, depending on the gun you start with, the build quality is going to be based on that. Some people who build for CQB or speed type games, they tend to stick to the lighter polymer body guns because it's easy to maneuver for them. So even though it's not the strongest body, they're careful enough with it, they can gain the advantage of having a really light gun. But those who do milsim or play a little bit harder out there, they might want a gun that's full metal, for example. So they will shop for a base gun that's full metal there and then upgrade as they need. In the category of durability, that depends on you when you're doing custom build. Some people who build for ridiculously high performance or rate of fire, that comes at the expense of durability. Whereas some people who just want the gun to be a little bit stronger out of the box will change some basic components that they felt was lacking out of the original gun, such as upgrading to a full metal piston of their choice or a better motor, for example. Trigger response and accuracy, that's where most people will want to upgrade, and that's also going to be based on your needs. Some people want to spend a lot, so a lot of it can go into getting the best trigger response, making it a crisp shooting gun. And some people are more simple, so they'll just go with a simple motor swap, and that'll get them closer to what they want. As far as accuracy goes, they'll swap to a better barrel and bucking combination. Maybe they come with a tight bore barrel already out of some of these guns, but they just want something that's a little bit nicer quality and polish inside. And for guns that use a hop-up chamber with an aftermarket design available, they might switch to that too. All right, so let's talk about a custom-built gun. Again, these are maxed out in all the categories because you could choose what kind of FPS, rate of fire, even build quality that you base the gun on, and so on. So pretty much everything you could possibly do with the gun will be done here as far as usable performance on the field. We're not talking about short stroking, 60 rounds per second, that kind of crazy stuff that's just based on building to the maximum level of what's capable. We're just talking about what's usable on the field. All right, so this gun features a fully built gearbox, has bearings, fast gear ratio, high-end aftermarket motor and a MOSFET built in. It's running an 11.1 here. And this is the trigger response and rate of fire. Now this is my personal gun. I don't use it this way. I actually run a slower battery. This is an 11.1. I ran the 7.4 to make it more tame, because this one just eats through ammo, and as you can see with rate of fire like that, I'm adding a lot of wear and tear to my gearbox for no reason. FPS, again, it's based on how you build it, so you can have it maxed out. Rate of fire on this is obviously better than what's usable. Build quality, that's dependent on the body that you base it on and the parts you use, so that's all subjective and based on what you do. Durability, if you build it like this, it's probably not going to last too long versus one that's a well-built but reasonable performance gun. Accuracy wise, again, that's based on the parts you choose and how you assemble it. And trigger response, obviously it's the best it can be here. So that pretty much breaks down the differences in all the guns. You have to remember that based on the price point, you can only go so far with a Sportline gun. However, they do a great job of getting you out there and playing effectively on the field. If you are all about performance or the best feeling gun and so on, you might want to skip ahead to the Proline guns. But just know that as far as performance goes, the gap isn't too great, and it's nothing that can't be manipulated with upgrades. Alright guys, that does it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. If you like what we're doing, be sure to comment, like, subscribe, and follow our YouTube channel, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm Tank from Fox Airsoft. I'll see you guys later.